Hey there guys, today I've got another Hot Toys review for you. It is the MMS 437 Anakin Skywalker from Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. As you can see, it is the older version of Hayden Christensen's Anakin, so it's the one that is just kind of on the edge of turning to Darth Vader. You know, he's got the longer hair, he's got the scar down the side of his cheek as well, which is really cool. Just wanted to say before I go any further as well, and give my pal a shout out, Chris, over at Northern Bullet. This is his figure he's lent me, so I'm not going to do anything too adventurous with it. He just lent it me so I can review it. I've got a couple of Star Wars Hot Toys figures, but I'm not really going to invest too much in them. So if you're wanting Star Wars Hot Toys, and to be honest, Chris himself has become quite invested in the Marvel side of things, check out Northern Bullet as well, because Chris tends to buy pretty much all the Star Wars Hot Toys as they're coming out as well. I know he's just paid for the New Hope Luke that's just come out. I think it released about 2 days ago in Hong Kong, so he should probably have that at the beginning of next week. So look for a review on that, and obviously give his channel a subscribe as well and help a buddy out. Okay, so as you can see anyway, this is the box in front. You can see that generally the Star Wars figures, if you're familiar with them, all the Hot Toys Star Wars figures, they have a photograph of the figure on the front of it. They don't use any artwork or anything stylistic. It's literally just kind of faded out and photoshopped as a photograph onto a black background. But they all are, you know, every figure that we've had, which is quite odd because it's really reminiscent of the old Sideshow 1/6 that they used to do, but they're still churning the Sideshow 1/6 out in some aspects currently. So odd that they've made it so it looks like it fits in. It's quite weird how you look at one and go, is that box a Sideshow or is it a Hot Toys? I mean, ultimately they're the same company, but the quality really does kind of go downhill in my opinion if you go towards the Sideshow figures. But anyway, this is the packaging. Like I say, you've seen the front. Shimmy around the side. It's just a standard shoebox design, so nothing fantastic, but again, Star Wars figures are all the same really. You do get kind of a little print at the bottom that just says Star Wars MMS 437 Anakin Skywalker 1/6 collectible figure. Going on to the other side, same again, but with a little Disney logo too. And on the top, you've got the Star Wars logo, so pretty generic stuff, nothing outwardly kind of exciting. And then on the back, you've got all the kind of blurby kind of T's and C's, the warnings for choking hazards and such. You know, not that you should ever really give this to anybody under the age of 15, which it does actually say. Holograph there to prove that it's legitimate, and obviously the address and the manufacturing and secret base icon there as well, because it's from Hong Kong. So I'll spin it around and we will crack open the top of the box. So again, standard procedure with the Star Wars figures, you get the top shell like this, completely black inside, it's just cardboard, and the back side of the box as well, again it's all cardboard here inside it, but then when you do lift it up, you get a nice artistic kind of Photoshop jobby, again of the figure, so they're still using the figure as the source material, they're not using any illustrations or anything like that, they're using the figure, but they've kind of photoshopped in a background and made the lightsabers look really kind of cool and glowy as well. And again, you get one of these kind of sleeve covers with every one of the Star Wars figures that you've got recently to date. You just pop that off there. Again, it's completely white cardboard, nothing fancy. And behind that, you have your figure. Now this is the first time I've actually opened this up. So he's currently sat inside his box with his absolute metric ton of accessories. You know, you can see that he's got his robotic arm there, he's got his black sleeved arm with the LED fitted lightsaber, so you can actually put batteries in that arm. I imagine that on these two lightsabers here as well, you can switch out the blades. So if you wanted to, you could put this blue blade in here and have a blue illuminated lightsaber. But unfortunately the Dooku one, as far as I'm aware, isn't a light up lightsaber blade, so you don't get two despite this showing at you, which is kind of disappointing really, but I can see why they did it, because then you'd have to have another battery operated arm, so you'd be adding even more accessories into what, even just looking at it here now, just seems like an absolute beast in terms of accessories that it comes with. What I'll do is I'll crack it out I'll get all the accessories laid out in front as well, so we can have a look at them. Chris did say that I can swap some bits out, but I'll be too adventurous with it at all, because again, it's not my figure and I don't want to break something that's not mine. And obviously it's only just come out as well, so if I was anything to go wrong, I'd have a bit of a nightmare sourcing one for him. So touch wood, nothing goes wrong. So I'll get onto the accessories in a second. Back in a minute. So these are the accessories you get with the figure, and like I say, there's quite a lot of them. We'll go through the obvious motions of it first of all. So for a start, you get an instruction manual. In the instructions, you'll get all the kind of bits and pieces what you need. It tells you how to install the batteries in the light-up arm, the limits of the mechanical arm, how to swap them both out, and then on the back of it, you know, how to swap your lightsaber blades, this, that and the other out as well. So even how to assemble Count Dooku's lightsaber and how to hold it like he did in the bit where he chops off Count Dooku's head. You also get a bit about the Jedi robe as well, so it just tells you how to pop that on him. And that's about it. But then it also then comes with an extra little piece of instructions just separately printed, which is a correct method of how to connect the arm. It does glance over it very briefly inside here, which tells you that, you know, just there, roll the sleeve back and connect it in. But I imagine that over the course of them bringing this out or kind of factory testing it, they probably thought that they weren't being clear enough in how to kind of detach that little snap peg there. So just be careful with it, you know, read the instructions, know the limitations of the figure as per usual. You know, the more you educate on yourself on it, the less that can go wrong. So ultimately, check them out first before you do anything. Next thing is we get a base. So this base is one of the blank kind of black generic bases that we've got with a lot of the Star Wars figures. The little name placard just pops on and off, and the top base slots in. This is interesting though, because this is the first time I've seen this personally. I'm not sure if my Boba Fett's got it, because my Boba Fett's got the scenic base rather than this one out, but this is a piece of paper that, like, kind of printed card that sits on top of here. It doesn't actually stick down. I don't know if it is a sticker, if it has got the option. I don't want to try risk peeling it, obviously. But yeah, very odd, very, very strange. And like I said, this just clips into it, so maybe it is a decal or something that you've got the option of using, but yeah, underneath it is just black, so very strange. The other thing you get with it is his robe, so his Jedi robe. It's not wired apart from in the hood, as far as I'm aware. I think it's just designed to kind of float, so yeah, it's just wired in the hood so you can have his hood up. But the rest of it just kind of floats freely off his shoulder, which is quite nice. It's very, very Star Wars, kind of Jedi-esque. So I might pop that on him afterwards so you can have a look. It does come actually on the figure when you get him out of the box. He's wearing it to try and limit the amount of accessories that are stuck all over him. Other bits, we'll just get a little bit closer now that those bigger bits are out of the way. You've got 3 hands that are gloved, so as well as the one that's also on him that's designed to hold the lightsaber. So you've got a lightsaber hand on the figure, you've got a closed fist that's just there, you've got a kind of relaxed, kind of semi-grasping hand, I want to call it. Almost looks like he's force choking, maybe. And then there's kind of his little Jedi mind trick, kind of using the force fingers as well, which again is quite cool. I quite like that they've done that. Optional, obviously, as well for the right hand, you also get his fingers with the lightsabers in it, so you can put the illuminated lightsaber in his hand, so that's your battery compartment where you'd switch it on and off and you screw, and there's the aforementioned socket peg there as well that you've just got to be careful of. But yeah, really quite cool. I like that. I like the detail in the lightsaber as well. It's really, really nice. We'll come to more of that when we look at the other lightsaber that's there. And then you get his robotic arm, which I love the detail in this. Each one of the joints is articulated, so it's really, really cool. You know, you can get some really good bends in the fingers and the thumb. Really, really nice. I'm not going to play with it too much because, like I say, it's not mine. I don't want to mess about with it. But it's got some really good motion in the wrist. It rotates, it floats backwards and forwards. The elbow rotates there as well at the joint. And if you look really, really closely inside, you've got all that really sweet wiring detail, all that kind of gold chrome as well. I love that hand, love that robotic arm. I can see people maybe leaving the gloved hand on it holding the lightsaber, but yeah, I just probably want to display it like this at least for some time, have that mechanical arm on display, because that is really, really awesome. So that's that. Then we're moving on to the left hands, so nothing massively exciting on the left side of things. Stuff that you've probably already seen and probably already been recast from other figures and reused. So he's got a closed fist on his actual figure that I've got set to one side. There is a slightly closed fist to put a lightsaber in. So it's a bit more of a clenched fist, so you can slip the lightsaber in there. So if you want to put the Dooku one in or the other blue lightsaber, you can. You've got a slightly relaxed hand, but with a bit of knuckle movement in it, which is quite cool. It's quite dynamic. It means it's not just a plain flat hand, so that's quite cool. If any of these hands mean anything to anybody that I'm totally forgetting and overlaying, feel free to call me out on it. I'm not massively. As much as I'm a big Star Wars fan, I'm not a massive fan of the original three, so I can't recall him, every hand gesture. I believe this is some kind of force gesture though. This looks like the Jedi mind trick kind of fingers that he's pulling there, which is quite cool. So it's slightly offhand, but then he's got the fingers kind of bent up there, so that's quite cool. And then you've got a big kind of open splayed palm as well, so you can have him obviously steadying himself or balancing. The detail in those is, again, it's the usual great paint job that Hot Toys have been churning out recently. You can see the fingernails look awesome, the kind of mottling and the texture on the hand look great as well. So that's the hands out of the way. Arguably it is a lot of hands, so it's quite cool. You get some wrist pegs, so you get a black one and a flesh tone one, so you've got one for each hand should you desire it. Always useful for them to put the right coloured pegs in relation to the figure as well, so it's nice to see. And finally we've got the two lightsabers. So this is Anakin's lightsaber, the blue one, which looks absolutely fantastic. The chrome, the paint job on it is lovely. Even the switch on the side. I don't know if I can do it justice here without holding it steady. But yeah, it's really, really nice. Screw little details in it and things like that. And the translucent blue works really nicely in it as well. It's vibrant enough that it's, you don't think it is toyish or anything like that. And then the other one that you get, which again is arguably just as good as the Anakin's lightsaber, is Count Dooku's, so the Christopher Lee one. So the lovely translucent red, and the details in this are great too. The grip, I love the texture in it, and the little gold kind of screws and things. The trigger's really nice. Even that little kind of end cap on the pommel of it's really cool as well. So real attention to detail in the lightsabers. I know they're a big part of Star Wars, but just the detail that they've put in there is absolutely amazing. That they've managed to kind of make it look that authentic and that realistic, without it looking like a toyish accessory, so I do appreciate that. What I'll now do is I'll kind of pop all this back in its box, and I'll get Anakin out so you can have a look at him, and we'll have some thoughts on the head sculpt and obviously the other accessories that come kind of pre-fitted onto the figure. Back in a second. So this is Anakin out of the box. As you can see, I've put the lightsaber into his lightsabered hand there so he can hold it. And the other hand is the kind of just the bare fist that you'd normally get on a lot of the other Hot Toys figures. His sleeve does cover a lot of that up anyway. What you can see here is the face sculpt is actually quite cool in the sense that you get different looks and different expressions from different angles with it, as far as I can see. On the packaging, I don't know if you can look behind it. Let me see if I can focus just behind there. If you just look on there, he looks a little bit more surprised. Looks a bit more like kind of he's more, like the young kind of headstrong Anakin. From that you get from the beginning of the movie, when he's a little bit more sarcastic and a little bit more kind of fun, and you kind of get that. This kind of angle, if you have his head angled up, he does have that look of surprise on his face. But then as soon as you tilt it down and he's looking over his eyebrows, that's the end of the movie, Anakin. Like, he looks really, really intense, and you know, the anger's there, and I like that actually. I like what they've done with the way that he's looking, so you can just kind of tilt it up and down. You get a really good result just from having your kind of head tilted at a slightly different angle. I mean, for me, that there, and if you could maybe put the Dooku lightsaber in his hand at the same time in the other hand, you know, he'd look really kind of full of that like rage that Anakin kind of gets towards the end of the movie. I've not actually looked if you can swap out the blue lightsaber for the red one, but that might be an option. But you know, obviously then it's not true to the movie. The costume itself is really, really nicely tailored as well. You can see here it's like kind of leather-esque straps that go over his shoulders, and they come with this like tunic. And the fabric that the actual Jedi robe is made out of is really, really nice. Really good quality fabric, and it's kind of textured as well. I'm not really sure what it is, but it's quite silky, which is quite nice. He's also got this kind of bracer on his right arm here, which is supposed to kind of protect his robotic arm that he has, and obviously he's got his glove that kind of hides the fact that he's got a robotic hand. Rest of it on the other side, if we just bring his other arm up, is just a plain flesh tone arm with the undersuit and then the overall suit kind of robe layered over it. So that's really cool. I'm not going to try obviously taking this off and putting the mechanical one on because it's Chris's. It's not mine. It's probably going to be more trouble than it's worth just to take a few pictures of it briefly. I'm sure Chris in his review covers it a lot better than I do, just because it's his figure and I don't want to kind of mess about with anything. Going down the figure, you can see that he's got kind of this mahogany brown kind of cotton trouser that's quite cool, and these boots are really, really nice. In fact, let me just bring them a little bit closer for you so you can have a look. But they've got the same kind of leather like kind of feel to them. They're not as poseable because they don't have that cuff and the ball joint, which a lot of the recent figures have been having. But you do get a nice enclosed boot, and it's flexible enough so you do get some movement in there as well. So not really much of a problem. Do like the texturing and the like kind of the kind of rope work or whatever, pipe work you want to call it, on the front of the boot as well. So it just makes them look a little bit different. And then that's in there, stud on his base. If we just spin him around as well, you just get some more nice kind of view. He's got quite a lot of stuff in his little utility belt as well, which is quite cool. Got a lot of like accessories and things on there, you know, little kind of pouches and such that are quite cool. Just keep floating him around. I will get a turntable at some point, I promise. And so yeah, you got some like straps and things. Interestingly as well, in the box down there, in the kind of little spares pocket, you see the little studs that are just on his belt. You get a pack of 2 spares of those too, so that's really cool. And I think you also get a couple of black screws too to replace the screws if you ever lose them out of the arm. So that's really quite snazzy. That's the kind of overall look of the figure. Let's just go back in and have a look at that Hayden Christensen head sculpt there. So, well, we've got a bit of nice light. So yeah, the detail in his face is lovely. Just tilt his head up. There you go. So yeah, you can see the texture of his skin now. That cool scar on the side of his cheek as well looks really, really awesome. He does look really tanned. In the kind of the light that I've got him in the camera, it doesn't really do it too much justice, because he does tend, from what I can see in a lot of other reviews as well, the light doesn't like this skin tone. It tends to show up a bit orange, but he's a bit more kind of not quite all the way white, but he's a bit more kind of olive skinned rather than kind of this orange glow that the light's getting off. So in fact that probably covers it a little bit better maybe. It doesn't help that it's really quite sunny today, so I do apologise. Yeah, there you go. That's the kind of skin tone. If I just put my hand behind him, it kind of detracts it a little bit. But yeah, that's the skin tone on it. It's really, really nice. The eyes, I think, are the main feature on this that make him look, you know, as good. The likeness is so good. A little bit odd how it doesn't quite match up to the prototype on the box, but then again, that is the prototype. So I guess I'm just splitting hairs with it, but the figure overall is absolutely fantastic. I'm very interested to see a side-by-side with this and the Obi-Wan that's been announced too, because they've done the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan from the third episode as well. Sorry, my mind went blank there. Yeah, from episode 3. So he even comes with the special edition. Comes with a little baby Luke to kind of wrap up and cradle in his arms too from that end scene. But they've done some really awesome photography of this one and the Obi-Wan to promote it as well. So if you were interested, head over to the official sideshow on the Hot Toys website, and they're all showing it off on there. What I'll quickly do now is I'll just pose him up and I'll put his Jedi robe on as well. Maybe see if we can change that look slightly, and then we'll have some final thoughts. Back in a second. So this is Anakin all posed up nicely now. As you can see, I've popped his robe on. What all I've done is I've just switched the bald fist for the kind of gesturing force fingertips there thing. Basically it's just to replicate what he looked like at the end of the film, where he's on Mustafar just before he encounters Obi-Wan, and he's doing an execution on all the Trade Federation guys, force closing the doors with his robe up, which looks really, really cool. Really, really like that look of him in the film when he got his robe on and he was kind of staring out menacingly from under it. The robe is a little bit long, but again, it's because it's a Jedi robe, so it's the design of the actual figure of the character rather than the figure itself. So you do lose the nice detail of the lightsaber with the kind of robe being so low down. You can kind of, I guess, tuck it around and just have it a little bit more exposed there, I guess. But on the same footing there, it looks really nice because it's sort of long and it hangs off his hand there too. So, it's just really, I just maybe like it to have been a little bit shorter just so it's a bit more manageable. But I guess you could roll it up and all kinds of things. I love the robe material. I was right, it is just wired in the hood bit and not in any of the other part of it, so it's designed so it kind of floats off him, which again is really nice. It's a lovely light material too. So that's there. You can look at his kind of head sculpt there just a little bit as well. I do really, really like this this head sculpt. I love the eyebrows that they've got. Again, it just makes him look so full of intensity. And so kind of aggressive, that bit at the end of the film where he just goes full dark side and starts attacking everyone and has the big fight with Obi-Wan. So again, it'd be really, really cool to have that as a diorama with the two kind of squaring off against each other. Because I think this Anakin it's as good as you're going to get an Anakin, in my opinion. And arguably, as much as I don't like the original trilogy, it's my favourite one, the third one. I prefer this incarnation of Anakin rather than the little kid one and the whiny teenager one from the second movie, which is just the worst. I'm resisting and I'm being ever so good in not cracking a joke relating to sand or having the high ground on this one. I'm really, really trying to behave myself in wisecracking with it, but yeah, this one is definitely up there. If I collected Star Wars figures, I'd be all over this, but I don't, unfortunately, which I guess in some senses it's good, because it means I've got more space for other figures. But yeah, I really, really like it. In terms of the head sculpts, again, it's another one of those where I could stare at it all day and I really, really appreciate it. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Pop a comment in the box below. I'm also in the description box going to link you over to Chris's page, Northern Bullet. He is the chap who lent me this figure again, so really big thanks to him for lending it out to me. And again, just if you are watching and you're not aware who he is, go and check out his channel too, and obviously subscribe there too. So that's all from me for today. Obviously to subscribe to myself as well if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Thank you very much. Bye bye.